Hello, my name is Andrew Painter, and I'm an attorney with the law firm of Walsh Colucci based in Courthouse. Our firm is working with Jefferson Apartment Group on its 4.1 site plan and rezoning applications for the redevelopment of 1901 North Moore Street in central Roslyn, which is also known as the RCA building. This video seeks to provide brief responses to a few of the key comments that we received during the SPRC online engagement session, which concluded in mid-January. And I'd like to take a moment to say that we sincerely appreciate your feedback on the proposed plans, and we are carefully considering them. One of the key items that was raised during the online engagement session related to bicycle connectivity to nearby trails and bike routes. We certainly share the community's interest in promoting safe travel for cyclists and believe that the project and the surrounding street network should be as friendly and stress-free to cyclists as possible. And it's for this reason that Jefferson Apartment Group is making substantial commitments to bicycle infrastructure, including things like bicycle parking spaces, bicycle racks, and long-term bicycle storage. The diagram that's on the screen depicts the connectivity of this site to nearby trails and primary bicycling corridors, including Fort Myer Drive, Northland Street, and the Mount Vernon Trail, all of which provide north-south connectivity between Arlington, Alexandria, and Georgetown. The site is also connected to bike corridors which provide east-west connectivity, including the Wilson Boulevard, Roslyn-Ballston corridor, the Martha Custis Trail, and the Route 29 Lee Highway corridor. Additionally, the project will help fill a missing link in Roslyn's bicycle network. Along the property's southern edge on 19th Street North, for example, we are proposing space for two 6-foot on-road bicycle lanes in the eastbound and westbound direction, where no such lanes exist today. These two new bicycle lanes will help complete a safe and usable bicycle network in this section of Roslyn and will ensure minimal impacts to traffic flow and congestion in the Roslyn core. They also accord with several county board adopted policies, including the Roslyn Sector Plan, the Master Transportation Plan Map, and the Master Transportation Plan's streets element and its bicycle element, all of which call for new bike lanes on this stretch of 19th Street North. They're also consistent with the 19th Street North cross-section contained in the core of Roslyn's preferred alternative. And going forward, our design team will continue to work with staff to make the best use of available right-of-way in a safe and efficient manner and ensure a usable bike network throughout Roslyn. Another land use issue raised was whether the proposed density was appropriate for the site. For reference, our proposed density is a 10-0 FAR, or floor area ratio, which conforms to the zoning ordinance and the recommendations of the Roslyn Sector Plan, as well as typical densities found across Roslyn. The proposed building has been designed as a gateway site, and its scale, its massing, and its architecture is intended to seamlessly blend in with surrounding buildings both now and in the future. It's intended to complete the existing dominant visual pattern and sense of rhythm and feeling of consistent spacing that's envisioned at Roslyn's northern gateway. This building will incorporate a variety of materials and create a dynamic view from surrounding buildings and from across the Potomac River as you enter the Commonwealth of Virginia. Another concern raised was whether the proposed parking rate was appropriate and how it might affect the presence of a partially above-grade parking garage. For reference, we are proposing 290 parking spaces. 15 of them will be reserved for retail use, 265 will be reserved for residents, and 10 will be reserved for visitors. This results in a residential parking ratio of 0.625 spaces per unit, which is appropriate given community concerns about the potential for overflow parking on adjacent streets and the need to address market demand in light of the applicant's experience at other residential projects. This parking rate is also comparable to nearby recently approved Roslyn projects, as noted in the chart shown on the screen. In terms of how the proposed parking rate impacts the bulk and mass of the proposed building, we are providing 2.5 levels of below-grade parking and 2 levels of above-grade parking. Of the proposed 290 parking spaces, 188 of those spaces, or approximately 2/3 of the total spaces, will be below grade, and 102 spaces, or approximately 1/3 of the total, will be above grade. And of course, Jefferson Apartment Group will continue to work to reduce parking wherever possible. For example, we've committed to a transportation demand management plan to reduce automobile trips and encourage the use of alternative forms of transportation. And to reduce the potential for having vacant parking spaces exist in perpetuity, we've also designed the garage to make it convertible in terms of having flat floor plates and ceiling heights, so that they can be retrofitted to allow for future alternative residential uses in the event that parking demand proves to be significantly lower. Here is an image which provides more detail of the above-grade parking garage screening. Given the substantial 16-foot topographic drop between 19th Street to the north and Route 20 to the south and Route 29 to the north, we have chosen to tuck the garage into the natural slope of the site, and we've designed the proposed building to embed the above-grade portions of the parking garage within the building's podium. The above-grade portions of the garage will be lined with active retail uses, retail equivalent uses, and residential amenity uses, all of which will screen the above-grade parking from surrounding streets. Elsewhere, and as shown here, decorative metal screening will carefully conceal parking while also creating visual interest for residents and office workers and pedestrians alike. We're also exploring the feasibility of applying artwork and laser-cut imagery to the outer surfaces of the decorative screens to add a public art element, and we'll continue to work with staff to refine this design. Some of the comments that we received submitted highlighted the importance of Gateway Park to the site, and Gateway Park is certainly an important amenity, not only to the proposed building, but Roslyn in general. This image shows how the building's location relates to Gateway Park in terms of pedestrian connectivity. And this relationship, which is directly across the street from Gateway Park, was recently enhanced through intersection improvements at Lee Highway and North Lynn Street. We will work with staff during the review process on enhancements to these connections where they're warranted. A related issue that was raised is the project setback on our northern property boundary outside of Gateway Park. This graphic depicts the proposed streetscapes and sidewalks along Lee Highway. As you can see, we're proposing to replace the existing loop road and parking spaces with a substantial landscape setback and pedestrian area, which is set back 8 feet further than is otherwise required. This wide area will include a sidewalk, outdoor cafe seating areas that do not impede the sidewalk, and a wide planting buffer that can potentially include an interactive art element. The planting buffer will serve as a barrier to discourage pedestrians from making mid-block crossings, but it's also intended to include 4-season, native and adaptive pollinator-friendly planting species that will promote biodiversity year-round. Large shade trees will also be installed in this area to provide valuable shade and create a cohesive and comfortable human scale experience that complements the landscaping at Gateway Park and enhances the esplanade concept called for in the sector plan. Questions were also raised as to whether the proposed redevelopment will provide sufficient setbacks and space for sidewalks and ground floor uses, including accommodations for outdoor dining. The graphics shown here depict sidewalk depths as well as the potential location of tables and chairs for potential restaurant uses. And as you can see, the proposed building setbacks will provide sufficient space and will be in accordance with the zoning ordinance, as well as the Roslyn sector plan and cross sections contained in the core of Roslyn's study. Finally, 2 other issues were raised, and I'd like to touch on them briefly. First, with respect to affordable housing, we are continuing to refine our approach in coordination with staff as we deliberate and finalize the project's community benefits package. Second, in an effort to reduce glare and reflectivity of the proposed building, as well as reduce bird injuries, we are exploring the use of bird-friendly glass for those high-risk portions of the building facade that are most vulnerable to bird collision. We are continuing to evaluate all of these options to ensure that bird collisions are minimized. In conclusion, the proposed project will significantly advance the goals of the sector plan and the county as a whole. We certainly appreciate your attention and feedback during this process. We welcome further discussion with you, additional comments and thoughts, and we look forward to appearing before the SPRC on February 11th. Thank you for your time and take care.